Good day, grade 12 learners. Welcome to another exciting session of mathematical literacy. My name is Nikki Wezulu, and please note that today's lesson is proudly brought to you by the Gauteng Department of Education in collaboration with Saibono Discovery Center, and this broadcasting is brought to you by the Pakama Research and Development. Guys, it's so exciting to be back with you again. The last time I was with you, we were doing finance. We did your financial documents, we did UIF, we did your pay slips and taxation. And today I'm going to continue from where we left off with finance. But today's focus is going to be on your income, your expenditure, profit, loss, selling price, cost price, and the break-even analysis. I know this is a very exciting topic and most of you actually enjoy this topic. So I also hope that today, this afternoon I won't disappoint. You guys will also get to enjoy this section because you've also done it recently with your teachers in your classes. And then guys, without any further waste of time, we have this overview of Math Lit topics. We are all familiar by now with all the topics that are there in Math Lit, so I'm not going to dwell much into this. And then since I said that we are continuing with finance, so these are the topics that we have done already. We've done financial documents, we've done taxation, we haven't done the tariff system yet, but today's focus now is going to be on these highlighted topics. And then we'll be left with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 finance topics to be done, and then we'll be done for the year with finance for this year. So for today's lesson, the following are the outcomes. By the end of today's section, we should be able to define the terminology that is used. You'll see there's quite a lot of terminologies that are involved here, but the nicest thing about this topic is that it is a practical topic, is items that we can relate to. And then we should also be able to identify and perform calculations involving income, calculations involving expenditure, your profit and loss. We should also be able to work with the selling and the cost price. And lastly, we should be able to determine the break-even values. So like I said, that there's quite a lot of terminology that is involved, girls and boys. So but for today's section only, we are going to focus on these highlighted items. We are going to look at the definition of expenses, and then we have different types of expenses. You will look at the definition of income, your profit, loss, budgets, selling price, cost price, and lastly, your break-even analysis. Guys, it's very, very important that you know how to explain these terminologies. And sometimes you will not only be asked to explain them, but you might be asked to explain a definition in relation to the context that you are working with. So what I'm trying to say is that it's important that you know the explanations because they are examinable. You can get any Maths Lit paper. There isn't a question paper that you'll find and they don't ask you to explain a certain term. So you don't know which terminology they will ask. You must just make sure that you familiarize yourself with all the terminologies that are in the section. But for today, we'll only focus on these ones that I've highlighted. And then this is just also a summary of today's section. Like I said, that we are going to be talking about expenses, your income, and then we are going to talk about your selling price, your cost price, and also we'll also be talking about the break-even analysis. So this mind map is just a summary of what the topic entails. So when we talk about income, we're talking about the money that you receive or the money that comes to you. So again, the way that you explain income, it differs with the context that you are working with. If you're talking about me, myself as a teacher, if I were to explain my income, I will say my income, it is the money that I receive from my employer. So my salary is my income. But for a school-going person like yourselves, an example of income could be pocket money from your parents. When your parents give you 20 rand to say, here, this is your pocket money for today. That 20 rands for you, it is your income because it is the money that you are receiving. It is the money that comes to you. And then under income, guys, we've got 3 types of incomes. We've got your fixed income, there is variable income, and lastly, there is occasional income. What is the difference between those three? Your fixed income, it is income that stays the same. It doesn't change. It is not affected by whatever that is going on. And a perfect example of a fixed income would be a salary. For someone like myself as a teacher, my salary will stay the same every single month. If I'm earning 15,000 a month, it means for this year, I'll be getting my 15,000 every month. That is why it's meant by a fixed income. It doesn't change. And then again, if let's say I have apartments that I'm renting out, the tenants that are staying at that apartment, when they pay rent, that rent money, it comes to me as a form of income. And if we had an agreement that my tenants must pay 4,000 rands a month, it means every single month I'm expecting 4,000 rands to come to me. So because it stays the same for the year, it doesn't change, then that's another perfect example of your fixed income. And then we have variable income. Variable, it means that it does not stay the same on a regular basis. So it means that income this year, it can be high this month, and then next month it can be low. It fluctuates. It is not the same all throughout. And then a perfect example of that would be commission. What are we talking about when we talk about commission? This is mostly seen by the salespeople, people that are working maybe at a furniture shop. Those people, there's a certain amount of money that they get, but there's also an additional money that they receive based on the number of items that they have sold for the month or for a particular period. Meaning that the more items you sell, let's say you go to a car dealer, the person that is going to assist you and convince you to buy a car from that particular shop, they are pushing you, they are convincing you, because if you buy that car, it means there's a certain percentage that they are going to get in addition to what they are already receiving. So that is what is meant by a commission, getting money based on the number of items that you have sold. So that is why I'm saying commission. It's an example of variable income, because this month you might sell many cars, but next month you find that you only sold one car or two cars, or sometimes you don't even sell cars at all. It means now you're not going to get any commission. Another example of variable income, it is the interest. If maybe you've invested money for a certain period of time, the interest money that you're going to receive this month will not be the same interest amount of money that you're going to get the next year, because again, it depends on the amount of money that you've invested. It also depends on the interest rates at that particular period. So far I've explained two types of income. I explained your fixed income, which is the income that stays the same all throughout. And then I've explained your variable income, income that does not stay the same. It changes on an occasional basis. And then the last type of income, it is your occasional income. This one, it's self-explanatory. Occasional, it means it happens once in a while, or it happens only on occasions. An example of that would be a gift. If maybe it was your birthday today and your parents decided that, hey, now we are dealing with a teenager, we don't even know what to buy her. So instead of buying her a gift, let's just give her money. And your parents decide to shower you with 1,000 rands as a birthday gift. Because it only happens once a year, because your birthday only comes once a year. So because it's that special gift, then it is an occasional income. You are not going to get that money, that gift every single month. Another example would be a bonus. So this one, it is for individuals that are working. As employees, there's a certain amount that we get normally on our birthdays. The employer will say thank you, and then they give you an additional income. And that additional extra income, we call it a bonus. A bonus, you will not get a bonus every month. It's something that happens once in a while. Another example would be an inheritance. If maybe your grandmother passed away and she put you down as one of the recipients in her will, so it means that when you receive that lump sum of money, you are only going to get that once, because your grandmother is not going to die every month. It's something that happens only once, and you get that lump sum of money only once. So that makes it what? An occasional income. I hope you understand this, guys, because this is also examinable. An examiner can ask you in the exam to give an example of a fixed income or an example of variable income from the statement that is given to you. Or they can ask you to explain what you understand about variable income. So you should know how to explain every single one of them that is given to you. And then, guys, now we come to expenditure. But before we can do that, please remember to get in touch with us. We still have our WhatsApp line, which is 082 760 2630. So that is our WhatsApp line number. You can send in any question that you want. Or if you miss something that I explained, you're more than welcome to send us a message. If you don't have any questions, you want to send a shout out, you're more than welcome to do that again. Remember to tell us your name, your surname, and the name of your school. So guys, expenditure, it is the money that you spend or the money that is going out. When you are losing that money, when you are spending with that money, then we are saying that you are doing what that is an expenditure, or that is an expense. And then, like income, there's also 3 types of expenditures. We've got fixed expenses, expenditure, guys, same WhatsApp group. Fixed expenses, we've got variable expenses. We also have occasional expenses. What are your fixed expenses? Like your fixed income, it is your expenses that stays the same on a regular basis. They don't change. What an example of that would be, if I'm renting out a place. Now this time, I'm not the landlord, but I'm the tenant. And then there's a signed agreement that every month I must pay 4,000 rand for rent. So that 4,000 rand, because I'm going to pay it every single month, it doesn't change unless after a certain period the landlord decides that he increases the rates. But until then, the money that I pay, the 4,000, is going to stay the same every single month. It's not going to change. Another example, guys, would be an insurance. If I have a car and I decide to insure my car with a certain insurance company, we sign a contract, or rather an agreement, to say that every month I'm going to pay this amount of money for the insurance of my car. So if the agreement is that I pay 800, it means every month I'm going to pay 800 rands. And the fact that it stays the same every month, that makes it, and it makes it a fixed expense or a fixed expenditure. And then we have variable expenditure. Variable, it does not stay the same all the time. It changes. This month it can be more, next month it can be less. What is an example of that? The money that you spend on groceries. If you spent 1,500 this month, next month you will not spend the exact amount of 1,500. It might be more, it might be less. The money that is spent on petrol, even if I'm going to the same place every day, but the money that I spent this month will not be exactly the same money that I will spend next month for petrol. So the fact that it fluctuates, it goes up, it goes down, that makes it what? It makes it a variable expense. But I still need that expense every month. And then another example that I gave you on the slides is your electricity. The amount of electricity that we use this month will never be the same amount of electricity that we used last month. Therefore, the money that we spent last month for electricity will not be the same money that we'll spend this month for electricity. And then we have occasional expenditure. These are the expenses that happens once in a while. An example of this is a burst geyser. If you have a geyser at your home and then it burst, it is something that you did not even plan for it. It's more like your emergency expenses. You did not even plan for it. It just happened. And then it's not something that is going to happen again next month. A burst geyser is something that happens once in a while. So because it happens once in a while, it is an occasional expense. Sometimes a broken car You got a car and your car is broken. It is not something that is going to happen every month, meaning that your car cannot be broken every month. Unless then, if that is the case, it means now you need to change your car, because you can't be having a car every month you are fixing it. It means you'll be spending more than what the car is actually worth. So those are the examples of what? Of occasional expenses. And then here is a quick activity, guys, just to check if we understand that first section of income and expenditure. And this activity was adapted from the answer series textbook. So it says that the table alongside lists the income and expenses from Fatima's transport company for January. So before I even go to the questions, like I always say, guys, we are going to analyze the information that is given to us, get all the points that we need, and then from there we can go and see what the questions are requiring us to do. So let's look at our table. Here is our statement. It's an income and expenses statement. So there's payment that is received from customers. That means that that is Fatima's income, and her income is 682,500. And then we have running costs. It's an expense. Running cost is 325,400. Guys, they're just saying here that it's running costs. They didn't mention what those running costs are. But since this person is running a business, there are those costs that are just involved in the daily running of business. And an example that I can think of is maybe rent. Maybe she's renting the place where she's running a business. Obviously, she'll need electricity. Means she needs to pay for electricity. She will need water. Therefore, she needs to pay for water. So those are just a few of the items that I'm thinking about. Is there anything else that you guys can think of that is an example of a running cost that can fall under this running cost? If there's anything, guys, please remember to drop us that information in our WhatsApp box, and then I will read out your answers. And remember to also include your name and your surname and the name of your school. And then we've got salaries. How much is she spending for salaries? She's spending 100,000 rands. We've got petrol. So for this business to run, it means she needs petrol. And then for petrol, she spends 50,000 rands. And this is just for the month of January. So we've got our information. Everything is clear. Let's go to our questions now. The first question, name the different types of costs that could be classified as the running costs in Fatima's transport company. Guys, did you see what I did? Before I even looked at the questions, I analyzed the information that is given to me, and then I asked myself from that information, why am I doing that? I'm preparing myself for the upcoming question, so that when a question arises and it's the same question that I asked myself, I already know the answer. What you are doing is more like you are preparing for war. You are preparing your guns, your missiles, and everything. Now that you are at war, you are ready. You've got everything that you needed. So here, name the different types of costs that could be classified as running costs. I said an example could be what it could be: electricity. It can be water, or maybe even transportation. So anything, guys, anything that you can think of. It can be rent, because if she's renting out the place, she'll need to pay money for rent. So anything, any type of expense that would be needed by a company that you can think of, you can classify it under the running cost. And sometimes most businesses are insured, so even insurance, it's also an example of what? Of a running cost for a company. The second question, we're still working with the same information. The only difference between the previous table and this one is that now this table has total expenses. Remember, here we've got the income, and the total income is 682,500. And then now our total expenses. How did we get the total expenses? We add the running cost plus your salaries plus petrol, and it gives you a total of what? 475,400. That is the difference between the previous table and this current table. So what percentage of her total expenses is allocated to salaries? When you see this question, guys, when they say what percentage, you must know that when they talk about a percentage, it means something must be out of a 100. But what must be out of 100? The salaries. So the salaries that they have then, I'm sorry, when you talk about what percentage, yes, percentage, it means out of 100. But then in this question, it means that whatever it is that you are looking for, you have to multiply it by what? By 100, because we want what? We want the percentage. So what was the question again? What percentage of her total expenses is allocated to what? To salary. So it will be your salary over what? Over the total expenses. So now let me write it nicely and neatly here. The total expenses, we already have the total expenses there. It is 475,400. And then we said on top there, it is the salaries. And how much is the salaries? It is 100,000. And because they want the percentage, it means we are going to multiply by what? By 100. And then, guys, you punch this in your calculator. I hope all of you are having your calculators, since we are having a Mathslit lesson. And you know, in Mathslit, we are always relying on our calculators. So you've got the answer there, and then you multiply it by 100. Multiplied by 100, I'm getting 21,03491,796. So there was no instruction whether we should round off our answer to 1, 2, or even to the nearest whole number. So I will just round it off to 2 decimal places to say the answer is 21,03%, because we are looking for what? For a percentage. That is why our answer is in the unit of what? Of percentage. Guys, I really hope that you are enjoying, you are following, you understand what is happening. Remember to get in touch with us. Our WhatsApp number is very active. It's 082 760 2630. And then our next question, still in the same context, we still have our income and expenses statement. And then here is a question. If her income for February was 13.5% more than the income for January, determine Fatima's income for February. So remember, this is the income for what? For January. So they say her income for Feb, it's what? It is 13.5% more than the income of what? Of January. So if we want to know how much her income was for Feb, it means we must increase her income with what? With 13.5%. So how do we do that? We are going to start with the 682,500 and then multiply by the percentage that we must increase with, which is 13.5. 13.5%, by the way, it means 13.5 over what? Over 100. So let us do this one together, guys. I hope you have your calculators there, and then you are able to do the calculations with me. 682,500, which is equals to what? It is 92,137 and 50 cents. Have we answered the question? No. Here we just determined how much the salary increased with, and the salary increased with how much? With 92,137. But what are we actually looking for? We want the new income for February. So how do we determine the new income for February? We take the old income, which is 682,500, plus the increase, because we are increasing. That's why we are saying plus. What is the increase now? It is 92,137 and 50 cents. I'm going to use my calculator. I'm expecting all of us to also use our calculators. And then the answer that I'm getting here, it's 760 74,637 and 50 cents. Then this means that this was the income that Fatima received at the end of February. Do we understand, guys? I hope we understand. I hope we are following, because this is really just the basics, like working with your percentages. It's something that we all did when we were in grade 10. And then here is another question. Did Fatima make a profit in January? How do we know that a person has made a profit? For a profit to be made, it means that your income minus your expenses, your answer must be positive. So only then we will say that the business has made a profit, or we'll know whether the business has made a loss. So if you have if you say your income and then you subtract your expenses, and then the answer that you get is positive, then we know that the business has made a profit. But if you take your income and then you subtract your expense, and then the answer that you get is negative, then you know that this business is running at a loss. There is no profit that was made from this business, or we can say that the business is running at a deficit. So when your income is more than your expenses, income is more than the expense, then you know that this business is making what is making a profit. But if the income is less than the expense, then this business is making what it is making a loss. It's running at a loss, or it's running at a deficit. So now to answer this question, did Fatima make profit in January? Let us look at her income. Her income is 682,500. Let me write it here. Her income, it is 682,500. And then what was her expenses in January? Her expenses in January is this one, guys. We've already done it. It is 475,400. So looking at this, the income is more than the expenditure. Therefore, yes, she did, what's her name again? Fatima made profit. So you can say Fatima made profit because her income is more than her expenses. And then, guys, like I explained, that when your income is more than your expense, it means the business is making a profit. And when the income is less than the expenses, then unfortunately your business is running at a loss, or it is running at a deficit. I think we've learned this, guys, from grade 8 and grade 9 in the section of EMS, that the main purpose of running a business is to make a profit. That is the main aim of running a business. It is to make a profit. So for a business to be able to make profit or to make money, it needs to sell its goods and services for more than it costs. If maybe I want to start a business of selling calculators, and then my cost, it is the money that I pay where I stock these calculators. If maybe where I stock these calculators, I stock them, let's say, for 50 rands a calculator. So unfortunately, I cannot sell this calculator for 50 rand or for anything less than that. It means whatever money that I'm going to charge now on this calculator, it has to be more than 50 rands for me to be able to make profit. I hope you guys understand that. And then the cost price is how much the item costs the business. Like I said, where I buy these calculators from the manufacturers and I'm paying 50 rand a calculator, that 50 rand is my what? It is my cost price. Let me write it down here. The 50 rand from my calculator, this 50 rands, it's my cost price. And then now the selling price is how much the business gets for the item. I bought this for 50 rands from the manufacturer, and then when I go to my class, I sell this to my learners, and I sell it for 85 rands. So that 85 rands, it is what? It is my selling price. So when I sell it for what? For 85 rands. Now, a business may offer a customer a discount on items. Let's say maybe I feel like my calculators are not selling that fast and I really want them to move. So I say that, okay, the first 10 people to buy the calculators, I'm going to give them a discount of 10 rands. What does it mean? It means instead of paying 85 rands, now that there's a discount means they're going to pay less. And I said I'm giving a discount of how much of? Of 10 rands. Therefore, they're going to pay how much now? 75 rands, because this is what it is less, 10 rands. I gave them a discount of how much of? Of 10 rands. Now the new price that they're going to pay would be how much? It would be 75 rands. I hope it makes sense, guys. And then the profit that a company makes is determined by the difference between the selling and the cost price. This is what I said. So if the selling price is less than the cost price, the company will make a loss. It's exactly how I explained that when you are selling your items, your income must always be more than your cost price. Otherwise, then you will not be making any profit. So we can quickly check here with me for my calculators. Did I make a profit or a loss? How do you know that? My income. Okay, the formula for profit, if you want to calculate profit, will always be equals to income minus your expenses. And what is income? Remember, income, it is the money that comes to me, the money that I receive as a business person in this context. And how much is my income? How much am I selling these calculators for to my learners? I'm selling them for 85 rands. So my income would be 85 rands minus how much did I spend when I went to buy these calculators? I spent how much? I spent 15 rands. So you say income minus expenses, I have 35 rands. And because this 35 rands is positive, it means now this business is definitely making a profit. If the answer was negative, then we would know that this business is making a loss. I hope you guys can follow. I hope you understand. And then, guys, like I explained when I started, that when we work with expenses and also with income, we have about 3 types. But our main focus now will be on the 2 types of expenses, which is your fixed expense, those expenses that stay the same on a regular basis. They're not affected by anything. And a perfect example of that for a business would be the amount of money that the business pays for rent. It stays the same. It doesn't change. And then we've got variable expense that depends on the sale items. This one, it will depend on how many products you are going to spend your money on. So when we calculate income, always when you want to calculate your income, you are going to multiply the price of selling that item by the number of items that are sold. Remember my calculators. I said I'm selling these calculators for how much, guys? For 85 rands. That is the money that I'm going to charge for selling one calculator. So from this information, you can derive a very simple income formula. So if you want to know income, you will say that my income is equals to 85 rands, which is in this case my selling price, right? Multiply by n. And what is n? N is the number of calculators that I would have sold. If you wanted to know my income for selling 10 calculators, you will say, okay, the income for selling 10 calculators would be equals to 85 rand multiplied by, remember, n represents what? The number of calculators. And how many calculators did I sell now? 10 calculators. So my total income would be what? It would be 850. I hope that makes sense, guys. So when we calculate the expense, also with the expenses, guys, in grade 12, you will be expected to come up with your own formula for calculating the expenses. And then always, you are always going to add the total fixed your total fixed expenses. I'm sorry, this is a typing error. Your total fixed expenses. And then you will multiply the cost of buying an item by the number of items. Now this is for what? This is for the variable cost. Remember, we've got fixed, we've got the variable. The fixed are those ones that stay the same. They do not change. So when you have a fixed expense, you will always say the fixed expense plus, like here, it will always be fixed expense plus. Plus what? Plus the variable expense or variable cost multiplied by the number of items that the money was spent on. Are we okay, girls and boys? I hope we are all fine. I hope we are all okay. I'm trying to think of an example. If maybe I'm running a company and then my fixed expense for this company, it is to pay rent. I'm selling fat cakes at a school tuck shop, and then every month I have to pay rent. And then the rent money that I pay for rent, here, let me write it here. For rent, I pay 500 every month. And then from that 500 to my variable cost, it is my flours, cooking oil, sugar, all those items that I need to produce my fat cakes. In a month, I spend around, let's say, per fat cake, I can say I spend maybe 60 cents for one fat cake. I spend 60 cents for one fat cake. So if you wanted to calculate maybe my cost for producing 100 fat cakes, if you wanted to, okay, let's start with the formula. If you wanted to derive a formula for my shop, my formula would be for expenses, the fixed cost in this case is the rent is how much? It would be 500 rent plus what is my variable cost per fat cake? It is 60 cents. Multiply by what? By the number of fat cakes. And then from here, we can take it further. We can extend it. Calculate the cost of producing 100 fat cakes. So the cost of producing 100 fat cakes, it is the variable, which is 500 plus, the fixed. So the fixed, guys, it will always be the fixed plus. Fixed plus. Doesn't change. So it will be 500 plus 60 cents times, I said how many fat cakes? 100 fat cakes. You are correct. Plus multiply by 100 fat cakes. I don't have space. I will just go straight to the answer. So the answer here would be 560. So this would be my cost for producing 100 fat cakes. How did I get the cost? I derived a formula using the given information. Remember, in grade 12, you will be expected to come up with the formula. They'll give you the information and you will be expected to come up with the formula. But this should not be a challenge. If you guys have done the tariff system, especially the cell phone tariffs section, that is where you work mostly with coming up with the formula. So this will come naturally. You would know how to derive the income formula. You would know how to derive the expenses formula. And now, guys, calculating the profit or deficit, I have done this already. Remember, I said your profit, you say income minus your expenses. And if your answer is positive, then you know that you are making a profit. But if the answer is negative, then you know that you are making what? A deficit, or the business is running at a loss. So when we also have what we call the break-even point. The break-even point, guys, it is a point where your income is exactly the same as your expenses. It means if you say income minus expense, there's no positive, there's no negative, but the answer that you get there will be 0. So if that is the case, then you know that the business has break even. So what is break even again? It is a point where the business is not making a profit, the business is not making any loss. A point where income and expenses are exactly the same. That is the break-even point of a business. So deriving a formula for income and expenses, I've done this on the previous page. For your income, it will always be price multiplied by the number of items. And then for your expenses, because we have the fixed expenses, it is fixed expenses plus, always guys, always. Just for writing fixed expenses plus, there is a 1 mark for that. Retail price, the money that you spent buying your product, multiplied by the number of items that you have purchased. And then guys, this is how do you plot the graph? I am going to plot the graph. I am plotting the graph because I want to explain to you the concept of break-even analysis. And when I talk about break-even analysis, this is what I'm talking about. You will be having a graph. I think it's explained better when you are using a graph than when I'm just explaining it in words. Let's say here it's a business that is selling toys for kids. And then therefore on this section, you will have the number of toys. So obviously here it will be 0, 1 toy, 2 toys, 3, 4, 5, up to 6 toys. And then here it will be the cost in rents. So what the price of 1 toy would be 15 rands. Remember, you are also producing, as a business, you are buying these toys somewhere, or maybe you are producing them. So when you have two graphs, you will always have two graphs. So the first graph is going to start here at 0, like that. This graph that starts at 0, it is your income graph. Why am I saying it is the income graph? At 0 here, it means if 0 toys are sold, then the money that is coming in is also going to be 0. So if you don't sell any toys, you are not going to get any money. But the more toys that you sell, then the more money you will also receive. That is why you see that your graph is an increasing graph. Are we okay, guys? And then you've got your fixed expenses graph. Your fixed expenses graph is not going to start at 0, but it's going to start at 200 rands. What does this mean? Why does the graph start at, it's 20 rands. Why does it start at 20 rands? It means now this 20 rands, it means this is your fixed expense. So whether the toys are produced or not, but this business owner is going to have a fixed expense of 20 rands that they must spend, that they must pay. That is why the expense graph, let me label it, this is your expense. That is why the expense graph will start here at 20 rands and not at 0. So now that you have two graphs, you will come across these graphs more often now that you're in grade 12. Now that you have these two graphs, guys, and this part here, this is the part where the expenses graph is on top of the income graph. What does that mean? It means now this business is running at a loss. It means this business is not making any profit because now the expenses are more than the income in this area here. And then we reach this part here. This part, I'm going to label it A, point A there. What happens at point A? The graphs meet. That is where the two graphs meet. And we've got a special name for that point where the two graphs meet. That point, we call it what? We call it a break-even point. And what happens at the break-even point? That is the point where your income and your expenses are exactly the same. It means the business is not making any profit. The business is also not making any loss. So your income and your expenses are exactly the same at that point. And that point is called what? It's called the break-even point. Are we okay, guys? And then from this graph, the examiner can ask you, how many toys must be sold for this business to break even? So you don't need to you do calculations. You can use a graph like this, or sometimes you might even be having a table. You can also use that table. So to break even, it means the income and the expenses are exactly the same. So to answer that question, to saying how many toys must be sold for this business to break even, the answer is here. It means how many toys must be sold? 4 toys must be sold for this business to break even. And then after the break even, what happens after the break even? Now we are talking about this area here. And after the break even, then you see that the income graph is now on top of the expenses graph. What does it mean now? It means now the business is starting to make a profit because the income is now above the expenses. As you can see here that the income graph now is now on top, whereas the expenses graph is now at the bottom. Another question that can be asked in the exam, the examiner can ask you how many toys, or what is the minimum number of toys that must be sold for the business to start making profit. What is the minimum number of toys that can be sold for the business to start making profit? In your head, you are thinking, I know for a business to make profit, it means income must be on top of what of the expenses. So looking at our graph, at 4, it is the break even. Income and expenses are the same. There is no profit. But then after 4 toys, what is the next number of toys? It is 5. So the answer here is what it is. 5 toys must be sold for the business to start making profit. So 5 is the minimum number of toys that must be sold for this business to start making profit. How many toys must be sold for the business to break even? 4 toys must be sold for this business to break even. The minimum number of toys to be sold for the business to make profit, it is 5 toys. Those two questions are not the same, girls and boys. I hope you understand. I hope you see the difference. Remember to keep in touch, please. We've got our active WhatsApp number, which is 082-760-2630. We want to hear from you. We want to know if you are enjoying the lesson. If you've got any questions that you'd like us to address, send us. Our team is waiting for you. And then, yes, so I showed you how to plot the graph. And then the income graph, like I emphasized in the previous slides, that it starts at 0, 0, because when 0 items are sold, then 0 income will be received. And then, yes, income is only generated from the selling of items. So if you don't sell anything, you don't get any income. And then our graphs of expenses will always start at the fixed cost. So it doesn't matter. Sometimes the fixed cost will be 200. Sometimes the fixed cost will be 500. Sometimes the fixed cost will be 1,000. If the fixed cost is a certain amount, that is where your expenses graph will start. Sometimes the examiner will ask you, if you are given a graph like this, the examiner will ask, why is the expenses graph starting at 20 and not at 0? So you must know that it starts at 20 because of the fixed expense or the fixed amount of 20 rands. That is why this graph is not starting at 0, but rather it is starting where at 20. And then always write the heading of your graph. But with you guys, Meslit learners are very spoiled. Most of the time you are given graph with the heading, the size labeled, everything. Yours is just to plot the graphs if you are expected to plot the graph. And then labeling of the graph, guys, we've got the dependent and the independent variables. I know you did this section in length in grade 10 and 11 when we were doing the patterns and relationships. Your dependent variables is those variables that depends on other variables that are measured. And then your independent variables, it is the variable that has been measured. This variable is not affected by the other variable. And then if you look at this graph, the number of toys that are sold, they are always going to be the independent variable, because then the cost will be what your dependent, because the amount of money that you are going to spend, the amount of money that you are going to pay will depend on what? On the number of toys that you are buying, or the number of toys that you are producing. That is why I'm saying that the number of toys are your independent, and then your cost here are your dependent. Sometimes we are in the exam, you are confused, you don't know which is which. So a tip that I'm going to give you, this axis, the horizontal axis, you used to know them as the x-axis. These ones will always represent the independent variables. Whereas your vertical axis, these ones, they will always represent your dependent variables. And then, yes, I gave an example, guys, practical example of the graph that we're working with of the dependent and the independent variable. But if you want more examples, let's do this one. The price of bread over a given period. So the amount of bread that you are going to pay today will not be the same amount that you paid last year or 2 years back for the same amount of bread. Therefore, the price of bread, it is what? It is a dependent variable because it depends on the time when you buy that bread. Whereas the month that you are going to purchase the bread, it is an independent variable because it does not depend on the price of bread. Time it goes, the months are moving. So it's not depending on the bread, but the price that you are going to pay will depend on what? On the month which you are paying for that particular bread. And then we've got the profit margin. Guys, for profit margin, it is the percentage of the final selling price that is profit. So to get the percentage, the profit margin, you must first calculate your profit. We know that to obtain our profit, it is always the selling price or the income minus the cost price, or the other word for cost price, it can be what? Can be your expense. So the other word for selling price, it is what? It is income. So profit, it is your selling price minus your cost price. To calculate the profit margin, you may use this formula to say that profit margin, it is your profit. Remember, you would have determined your profit here, divided by the selling price, multiplied by 100. So this formula will help you to get what? To get your profit margin. And then what do we use the profit margin for? It is an indication of how well a product or a company is doing. So the higher the profit margin percentage, the better the business is actually doing. So every month, when you consolidate your books, you calculate your profit margin, then you will see if your profit margin is dropping, it means you are actually not doing well as a business. But if the profit margin is increasing, then it means that we are great to go. The business is actually doing very well. And then here is a nice activity. This activity was adapted from the Oxford Grade 12 Mathematical Literacy textbook. So they are saying here, the government authorized the building of low-cost housing as part of RDP housing campaign. They secured an investor to fund the project at 5,000 Rand per house. Before we go to the questions, let us analyze our given information, guys. So the government wants to build houses for people, and then they got a sponsor. A sponsor is someone that said, it's fine, I will come and I will pay for everything. So how much is the sponsor willing to pay? The sponsor says they are willing to pay 5,000 per house. So for every single house, the sponsor will pay how much? They will pay 5,000 rands to make sure that a house is built. And then let us look at our table there. I hope that that table is clear. We've got the number of units here. These units that we are referring to here, it is actually the houses. And then the first number here, we've got 100 houses, 100 units. So the fixed cost in 1,000 rands. The fixed cost, it is 450,000 rands for 100 units. If you build 200 units, there's a fixed cost of 450,000. If you build 400 units, there's a fixed cost of 450,000. When you build 600 units, there's a fixed cost of 450,000. So it doesn't matter how many units you are building, there'll always be that fixed cost of 450,000. What does this mean? It means if you're going to draw a graph for your expenses, your expenses graph will not start at 0, but it will start where? At 450,000. Let us look at the graph and see if that is the case. We've got two graphs here, guys. The first graph, it is the total cost, which is the red graph. And then the second graph is the blue graph, which is the income graph. And also with the income, we've got the income of 500. There where the graph, our graph is not starting at 0, because here the minimum number of units that are built, it is 100. We don't have 0 units that were built. But now the total cost is not starting at 450 as expected. Let us go and analyze the entire information on the table so we can get a clear explanation. And then you've got the variable cost. Remember, the variable costs are those costs that changes depending on the number of units. So what is the variable cost here? It is 2,500 per unit. So what does it mean? It means for any number of units that you are going to build, there's a fixed cost of 450,000, but there's also a 2,500 that will be spent per house. And then, but in this column here, I see 250. Where is this 250 coming from? I'm going to take the calculator, and then we are going to check here for 100 units. So we are going to say 100 multiply by the variable cost is 2,500 per unit. So I'm going to say the 100 multiply by 2,500, and then the answer, it is 250,000. That explains this 250. Say this 250, it's actually 250,000. And then we've got the total cost now in rands. The total cost, it is your fixed cost plus your variable cost. It is 450,000 plus 250,000, which gives us how much? 700,000. Remember, this is not just 700 rands, but it is 700,000. And now I can go to my graph and check the cost graph, the orange graph, or it starts here just below 750. It means this is the point of 700,000 rands. This is why this graph is not starting at 0, but it is actually starting where? At 700,000. And then we've got the total income. The total income here, it is 5,000 rand per unit. Remember, we said the sponsor said they're going to spend 5,000 rands per unit. And then in this column here, how many units are there? It is 100 units. So if I want to know the total income, I see here it's written 500. Where is the 500 coming from? So you will take this 100 units, you say 100, multiply by the 5,000 rand per unit. Multiply by 5,000 per unit. It gives me 500,000. So it means this 500 here, it's actually 500,000. And then we have a question mark here. Is this business making a profit or a loss? How do we know if a business is making a profit or loss? We take, when they said when the income is more than the expenses, then this business will be making a profit. But when the income is less than the expenses, then that particular business will be making a loss. Let us look at our items here. The total cost in this case, it is 700,000. The total income, it is 500,000. So what is going on here, guys? The expenses are more than the income. So it means here the government is actually running at a loss if they were to build 100 units. And then if you go to 200 units, guys, to 200 units, the fixed cost for 200 units is still 450, like I said. And then the variable cost, which is 2,500 per unit. So you're going to say the 2,500 multiply by how many units? 200 units. it gives you a total of 500,000 rands. That is why you see this 500 here. It means 500,000 rands. And then we've got the total cost in rands, which is 950. Where is the 950 coming from? It is the 450 plus the 500. It gives you 950. But remember, this is 950,000. It's not 950 rands. And then the total income, it is 5,000 per unit. So we're going to take that 5,000, multiply by how many units in this column? 200 units. Multiply by 200, it's equals to what? It is 1 million. So this 1,000 that you see here, remember it is 1,000 and 1,000 rands. That is why I'm saying that it is 1 million. It is 1,000, and then you must add 3 more zeros to make it 1 million. So if the total cost is 950, the total income is 1 million. Now when you check, the income is more than the expenses. That will tell you already that for 200 units, then the government will not be running at a loss, but instead they will be having a surplus of how much? Of 50 units. I hope that is clear, girls and boys. And then now we've analyzed our table, we've looked at our graph. I think now we can safely go to the questions. Do you see what I'm doing? I'm expecting you guys to do the same thing in the exam. You don't run to the questions. You first analyze the information that is given to you. Make sure you gather all the facts, everything, and then you can jump to your questions. So A, you must determine whether the government will have enough funds to build 100 houses. So let's go to our tables and see. You don't even need to go to your table. You can even look at the graph. At the graph, this is 100 units here. And then what is the income? The income is the blue graph. The income is here. It's at 500,000. And then where is the expense? The expense is there at 700,000. So it means now for 100 units, the government will not be able to afford to build all the 100 units, because the income that they have is less than the total expenditure that they must incur. So the answer here, we must determine whether the government will receive. Okay, so we are going to say income minus expenses. So our income for 100 houses, it is 500,000 minus the total cost for 100 units, it is 700,000. So if you take 500,000 minus 700,000, the answer is negative 200,000 rand. So it means the government will be short of 200,000 rands. So they will not be able to build their 100 houses that they're supposed to be building. And then the second one, guys, we must calculate the cost for government to build 400 homes. So now let's calculate the cost for 400 homes. We know that the fixed cost, to get the total cost, we must say the fixed cost plus the variable cost. So what is our fixed cost for 400? It is 450 plus, what is our variable cost here? It is 1,000. So when you add, it is 1,450. But remember, whatever answer that we get, we must always include the 3 zeros, because they said all these values, they are in what? They are in thousands. So the answer here, the total cost for building 400 homes, it is 1,450,000. And then see, guys, now I want you to try this one. I'm sure you are getting tired there. You are falling asleep just listening to me. I want you to take out your books, take out your calculators, and do this one on your own. And as soon as you are done, please send through the answers on our WhatsApp line, which is 082-760-2630. The question is, what will the total amount from the sponsor be for 600 houses. So for 600 houses, we want to know how much will the sponsor have to pay. If they are paying 5,000 per unit, so how much will they pay now for 600 units? Guys, 1 minute. You do this one quickly, and then when I come back, we will discuss it, and then you can compare your answers. Welcome back, guys. I'm so excited. I just saw your messages. Albini Girls, hi. A big shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And to Kelo Secondary School from Sidibeng West District, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope that you are enjoying. Francina Mate from Tukelo, she sent out a shout out, but I know all the Tukelo learners are tuned in with Mem Sitlare. Thank you so much, guys. Guys, I hope you are ready and you have the answers now. So, what will the amount from the sponsor be for 600 houses? Remember to send in your solutions. Then you can check if you're on the right track or if you made some mistakes. So here, the sponsor, remember, said that they will be paying 5,000 rand per unit. So in this case, we want to know that if it's 600 units or rather 600 houses, how much then will be spent. So it is 5,000 rands multiplied by 600 houses. So you punch into your calculator. You don't really have to know how to do this in your head. It is 5,000 multiplied by 600. And then the answer is what? It is 3 million. 3, 4, 5, 6. So the total amount that the sponsor will pay for 600 houses, it is 3 million. Straightforward. I hope you all got it right. Here is another exciting question. This one is from the 2017 June paper 1. It was from the National Senior Certificate. So let's see how we do with this one. 1.1, Tyrone buys chocolates in bulk to make gift baskets containing different chocolates bars to sell. He buys boxes that contain bars of peppermint crisp, bar 1, Kit Kat, and Cadbury 800-gram chocolate slabs. Guys, when you talk about a basket, a gift basket, this is what we are talking about. And you would normally buy this for somebody that is sick, if you want to wish them well, or on Valentine's Day, you want to buy your girlfriend or your boyfriend, you just want to spoil them, you can order this from Tyrone. So it's a mixture of all the different types of chocolates. So that is the only information that we're having. I think from here on, we can just go straight into our questions. The first question, you must determine the total price of a box of peppermint crisp bars if there are 40 bars in a box. So when you buy them from in a box, there is 40 of them. You've got 40 chocolates in a box, and the unit price of a bar, it is 8.70 rand. The unit price, it means for 1 bar. 1 bar costs how much? 8.70 rand. So if 1 bar costs 8.70 rand, how much will 40 bars cost? How much will you pay for 40 bars? And then from here, guys, it is your favorite method, your cross multiplication. So for 40 bars, you will actually pay 40 multiplied by 8.70 rand. So we say 40 multiplied by 8 rand 70, which is equals to 384. So it means if you wanted 40 bars, you will pay 384 rands. And then the second question, guys, a box with KitKat bars cost 435 rand and 4 cents. So when you buy a box of KitKat, this is a box, guys. It's not a small pack. It's in a box. In a box, it costs you how much? 435 and 4 cents. Now, to determine the selling price, Tyrone wants to know if he bought them in a box for 435, how much he must sell them for. To determine the selling price, Tyrone increases the cost price by 40%. So this is the cost price. So if you want to know how to charge his selling price, so he's decided that he's going to increase. When you are increasing, you are making it bigger. Make the circle bigger. Increase it. So when you are increasing it, you are making it bigger. Making bigger by how much? By 40%. You must determine the amount that he adds to the cost price. So remember they said he's increasing it by what? By 40%. Meaning we must determine what? 14% of the cost price, which is 435 and 4 cents. And what is 40%? All of us can agree that 40%, it is 40 divided by 100. What is the meaning of? It is multiplied by 435 and 4 cents. I'm going to punch this on my calculator. I'm expecting you guys to do the same. It is 435 and 4 cents. And the answer that I'm getting, it is 174,016. But girls and boys, we all know that when you are talking money, when you are working with money, it must always be rounded off to 2 decimal places. But you see what I'm doing here? I write the answer that I got on the calculator, and then on my last step, that is when now I will round correct to say this is 174 and 2 cents, because now this is a 6, this one becomes what? A 2. So the total, the money that now he's increasing this with, it is 174 and 2 cents. And then Tyrone makes a gift basket containing the items alongside. So if you wanted to buy this gift set for your mom for Mother's Day, since it's coming, or maybe it is your mom's birthday, or you just want to spoil your teacher, your favorite teacher, your Meslit teacher, you can just order this basket from Tyrone. So this is what is included in the gift basket. There is a bar one, there is peppermint crisp, there's KitKat, there's Cadbury, there is also the basket. And these are the unit cost price. The cost price is the money that it cost Tyrone to purchase this item. He spent 10 rand 4 cents for bar one. He spent 20 rand 66 cents for KitKat, and then he spent 29 rand 99 cents for the basket. Remember, the gift must look presentable. So all these are Tyrone's expenses when compiling that nice gift basket. Let us go to our questions. We must determine the total cost price of the gift basket. So they've given us all the costs for the gift basket. Now that they want the total, the moment you hear the total, determine the total of something, they just want you to add up everything together. And in this case, we are going to add up all these items that they've given to us. And very important, girls and boys, always show your methods. Meslit, we write a lot. So it is 10 rand 4 cents plus 8 rand 17 plus 20 rand 66 plus 6 rand 73 plus 29 rand 99 cents. So you add up everything together, guys. You rewrite it. Ne? Meslit is not for lazy people. It's for people that are hardworking, people that are always writing and always ready to write. Plus 20 rand 66. And then, guys, remember, I can also make mistakes here. So that is why I want you guys to always work it out on your own there and share your solutions, so that if I made a mistake, maybe instead of writing a 1, I wrote a 7, you correct me, then I can correct it here with everyone. So people are not left confused and wondering, why did she say 7 instead of a 1? I am human and I'm bound to make mistakes. 20 Rand 66 cents plus 6 Rand 73 plus 29 Rand and 99 cents. So the answer that I'm getting, guys, here, it is 76 Rand and 12 cents. I hope that is the same answer that you guys are getting. If you got the same answer, big ups to you. Please send that to our WhatsApp line. If you got a different one again, please send us a message and explain to us how you obtained your different answer. We like to hear from you guys. We are all waiting here and we can't wait to hear from you. And then the second question, he sells 230 of these gift baskets and receives a total income of 22,770. Guys, remember I said the terminology is very, very important. So now they're talking about the income that he received. An income. What is income again? It is the money that is coming to you. So he got a total amount of 22,770. Now, we must determine the selling price of each gift basket. Remember the previous slide, guys? Here we determine the cost price of the gift basket, which is 76 Rand and 12 cents. I'm going to write it down here to say, okay, the total cost price here, it was 76 Rand and 12 cents. Now we want to know the selling price of one. Each means what? It means one basket. So, 22 Rand, I'm sorry guys, I'm sorry. It is 22,770 divided by how many baskets? I mean by 230 baskets. Because we want to know, they said for 230, he got 22,770. So we want to know what was the selling price of one gift basket. That's why I'm dividing it by 230. So I'm going to say 22,770. It's a lot of money. It's a lot. 22,770 divided by 230. The answer is 99 Rand. So it means now he's selling one gift basket for 99 Rands. Guys, you are more than welcome to use your different methods. I know most of you are familiar with this method to say that, okay, for 230 baskets, he got how much? He got 22,770. So we want to know for one basket, how much will he get? So how do we do that? We cross multiply. Cross multiply. So then it will be 1 multiplied by 22,770. It will be 22,770. And then this question mark that we are asking ourselves multiplied by 230. It will be the question mark 230. But we don't want 230. We want the question mark. So we'll divide by 230. We'll also divide this side by 230. 230 and 230, they will cancel. You are left with your question marks because we want to know the price of one unit. And then 22,770 divided by 230, it will give you what? 99. Meaning that for one unit, he was actually selling one unit for how much? For 99 Rands. I hope we are happy. And then remember, what was his cost price? His cost price was 76 Rand 12 cents for one basket. And then he's selling it for 99 Rands. I'm just happy that his income is more than his expenses. So it means that his business is definitely making a profit. So here is another question from another National Senior Certificate question paper. This one is the 2018 paper 1. So we've got an advert from a superstore. Let's read the information and see what they've got in store for us. They say Happy Life Superstore advertised the specials below for the annual Black Friday in 2017. Study the advertisement alongside and answer the questions that follow. So this was the annual Black Friday that took place in 2017. So let us study the catalog and then we'll use that information to answer the questions. So here the first one, we've got the 2-liter bottles, we've got Coke, Sprite and Fanta, and then you saved 30%. So it means now that you've saved 30%, you are only going to pay 11 rand each. And then we've got the Ariel washing powder or washing liquid. Here is 50% off. 50%, it actually means half price. That's a good special. So you are paying how much here? You are paying 45 rand each. So it means now if this is 50%, if it was the original price would have been what? 45 plus 45, it would have been 90 rands. But now that because they saved you 50%, you are only going to pay what? 45 rands. And then we've got the Sunlight washing liquids. You save 35 rands. The new price that you'll be paying, it is 18 rands. And then all the other items, guys, you've got your Jacob's coffee. There's the HTH, that is a pool cleaner. You also have the Gaviscon, which you save 30 rands, and then the original and the new price that we are paying now is 43 rands. It means if you wanted the original price, you will say 30 rands plus 43, which should give you around 73 cents. I haven't answered any questions. I'm looking at the information that is given to me, and I'm trying to see what is it that I can gather. What are the possible questions that the examiner can ask me? I'm already asking myself those questions so that when I come across those questions, I don't see them for the first time. Let us look at the first question now. You must calculate the original price of HTH before the saving. So where is our HTH? Here is the HTH. They say you save what? You save 70 rands. And now that you are saving 70 rands, how much are you going to pay? 250. So if the special wasn't there, the original price would then be how much? It would be 250 plus 70 rands. That is correct. So 250 plus 70 rands, it would then be how much? 320. So this would be the original price of the HTH before the discount was applied. The discount of how much? Of 70 rands. I hope all of you are getting the same answer as mine. Remember to keep in touch, guys. We love hearing from you, and the team is eagerly waiting for your messages. And then the second question, we must write down the name of the product which is now half price. How would we know that an item is half price? It means that, I don't know, they will tell us how much we saved either as an amount, or they can tell us how much we saved as a percentage. But then I remember when I was analyzing my information that the Ariel washing powder and liquid, they say it was 50% off. And 50% means you only pay half of the price, the given price. So here they want us to write down the name of the product, which is now half price. And the name of that product, it is what? It is Ariel. Straightforward, guys. All of you should be getting this one correct. And then we must calculate the total cost of 1 2-liter bottle of Coca-Cola, 1 Coca-Cola and 2 Fanta. So let us go to our catalog again. Looking at the advert, they said it is 11 rands each, and all of them are 2 liters. So Coca-Cola, how much is the Coca-Cola? It is 11 rand, and they said one of them, right? So I will just say times 1. And then what is the cost of Fanta Orange? It is 11 rand. And how many Fanta Orange? 2 of them. So multiply by 2. So 11 times 1, it is 11 rand. 11 times 2, it is 22 rand. So if I want the total that I'm going to pay at the till, the total will be how much? 11 plus 22 would be 33 rands. So that is the total money that I'm going to pay if I buy one 2-liter bottle of Coca-Cola and two 2-liter bottles of Fanta. So here it's supposed to be two 2-liter bottles of Fanta. So this is the price, the total money that one will pay. If you want, you won't take it this far like me. You will just say 33 rands multiplied by 3 bottles, because the price is the same for all of them. So 33 rand multiply, I'm sorry, not 33 guys, but rather 11, because each bottle is 11 rands. You'll say 11 multiplied by 3, and then you will get 33 rands. And then now we must arrange the sale prices in ascending order. Ooh, guys, this question, it was asked in last year's final paper for paper 1. First of all, when we arrange, as you were doing with Mr. Kekana in the past 2 weeks, when we are arranging our data, we can arrange it in ascending or descending order. You must know the difference, that ascending means from the smallest to the biggest, whereas descending means from the biggest to the smallest. And in this case, we are arranging in what? In ascending order. Now, the mistake that was committed by most of the learners last year when they were arranging, they could not arrange the decimals. When there were decimals involved, they struggled. They struggled with arranging the decimals. So I really want you guys to go and practice this so that you don't repeat the same mistake that was repeated by your brothers and your sisters. Guys, I want you to arrange this for me quickly, just for 1 minute, and then when we come back, yes. Is it 1 minute? Welcome back, guys. I hope you arrange your values in ascending order. So now let's do it together so that we can compare your answers. I'm looking at the prices. They say we must compare the sale prices. So this one you are paying now 11 rand each. Let's look at the smallest value. The smallest value here, it is 11 rand. I'm going to make this my first value, number 1. And then the second value would be the 15 rands. And then the 18 rands. And then what else do we have? We've got the 20 rands, which is number 4. What are we having? We've got 30 rands. Let's make it number 5. And then we've got 43 rands. We'll make it number 6. Do we have any 44? Yes, we'll make it number 7, number 8, number 9, and lastly number 10. Do we really have 10 values? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm happy. All my values are there. Now it's going to be very easy for me to arrange them in ascending order. So the first one is 11 rands. And then the second one is 15 rands. The third one is 18 rands. The fourth one is 22 rands. The fifth one is 30 rands. The sixth one is 43 rands. The seventh value is 44 rands. The eighth value is 45 rands. Number 9 is 65 rands. And then lastly, number 10 is 250 rands. Did you see how quick that was? So that is also what you are going to do should you come across any data set and you are required to arrange it whether in ascending or descending order. You look at your values and then you label them, you number them, number 1, number 2, number 3. Then once you've done that, then it's all systems go. So this is our information, our data, and normally in the exam for this type of a question, you will get what you will get, 2 marks. And then we've got the table that is given to us, and it shows the national budget and education budget of South Africa for 2017-2018. We are going to use the table alongside to answer the questions that follow. I'm not going to go to questions yet. I'm just quickly going to analyze the table that is given to me. They said this table, it is there. It shows the national budget. So this section, it is the national budget. And then it also shows what? The education budget of South Africa. So this section here, it is the education budget in rands. So the values that are given to us, for example, the economic affairs and agriculture, it is 241.6 billion. So this is not just 241.6. And then here for basic education, it is 216.7 billion. So it's not just 216.7. So already now in grade 12, you should know that when they're talking about thousands, when they say thousands, you mean the answer that you get, you must multiply it by 1 with 3 zeros. When they talk about millions, you must know that it means whatever answer that you get, you multiply it with how many digits? There, with your 6 zeros and 1. If they talk about a billion, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. When they talk about a trillion, 12 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you know this is in thousands. This is in millions. This is billions. This is what this is, trillions. So the same with hundreds. When they say hundreds, then you know that you are going to times by 100. When they say tens, then you are going to multiply by what? By a 10. You just make sure that you are sharp and you know your story. So let us look at the first question here. Which of the amounts below represents the economic affairs and the agricultural budgets? So let's go first to our table. They're talking about what? Economic affairs and agricultural budgets. So this is the economic affairs and agricultural budgets. And it's what? It is 241.6 billion. Remember I said billions means what? We multiply by 1 and 12 zeros. I'm sorry, 1 and 9 zeros. So you are going to say 241.6 multiply by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 zeros. So you punch this on your calculator, guys. Always rely on your calculator, guys. Don't take chances and guess. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then the answer that we are getting is going to be 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So let us look. Our zeros here, we've got 3, 6, 8 zeros. So which value? 3, 6, 8. So the correct value that represents that budget there, it is letter B. So the correct answer there, it is the letter B. Girls and boys, unfortunately, because of time, I'm going to have to end here for today's lesson. I really enjoyed today's section. I hope you guys also enjoyed. Please join us next week. Next week, I'll be treating the tariff systems. Remember, we haven't done tariff system in this section. There are some messages that are coming through. People are requesting that we do taxation. Guys, we did taxation. We had a special 2-hour session for taxation. Please speak to your teachers to send you the previous links. And then from there, you can get the entire 2-hour long session of taxation. So for today, for this afternoon, thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to always keep safe, put on your mask, wash your hands, sanitize, And remember to keep a safe distance until we meet again next week for another exciting session of mathematical literacy, where I will be doing the tariff systems. Thank you.